think that conversation around reparations does get very complicated, and I know that there are a lot of people that advocate for that. But beyond that, I have to ask you,
what's complicated about it?
Where would you be today without slavery?
That's a great question. That's what we call one of those counterfactual hypotheticals, right? It's hard for me to tell you where I'd be without slavery because our entire history was interrupted by it. But black people, or African people more importantly, had empires. We had civilizations. We had governments. We had order. We had laws. Were we perfect? No society, no civilization is perfect. But the question, where would we be without slavery, would imply or suggest to people that somehow we have benefited from the enterprise of slavery, or that somehow in the aftermath of slavery we're better off than we otherwise would have been. And there's absolutely no evidence to believe that African people were better after interacting with enslavers, after interacting with the European colonists. There's no evidence of that. So I don't know where we'd be without slavery, but I'm certainly sure it's better than where we would otherwise be.
Yeah, see, and I would counter that personally with what we see on the continent of Africa today. I mean, honestly, you talked about some people having, some of the kingdoms and being on the hierarchy in Africa and different countries in Africa, and sure, but those weren't the people that were being sold into slavery. See, so it's like it's so hard to understand.
But Kim, where in Africa? I want you to be a little more specific. Where in Africa can we point to and see any kind of problem, any kind of disruption that hasn't been touched or interrupted by Europe?
You're kidding, right? Okay, so my family is from both.
Name a country that hasn't been. You're saying Nigeria and Cameroon haven't been affected by Europe? That's your argument?
There's many countries in Africa that did not have Europeans colonize it, and they're still down today. Look at the Congo, for one thing. We don't talk enough about the Congo and what they're dealing with, especially when it comes to China and everybody that is going into their country to extract cobalt and lithium and all these things that we want here in America to make us feel good with electric vehicles. So if we want to go down that road, we can go down that road, okay? But at the same time, not every country was invaded by Europeans that then put colonization on their culture and their people. That did not happen everywhere. But I can tell you right now in Cameroon, you have a situation where you have people running. Go ahead.
Continue. Finish your thought.
Right now. We have tribes in Cameroon right now that are trying to run from the military, run from the government, and it is black on black in Cameroon. This is what's happening across Africa. I'm not saying you being a slave from a family of slavery is great. I'm not saying it for myself either. But you can't sit here and say that your life would have been better without slavery, because we just don't know. We can look back onto the continent of Africa today, and we can say that there are a lot of places where people are leaving, seeking refuge to come here in America, because this is the land of opportunity.
Kim Klacik is stuck on stupid. Apparently, Kim Klacik has never heard of the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885, where 14 European nations carved up Africa into colonies. Okay, Kim Klacik is stuck on stupid. Apparently, she's never heard of the Berlin Conference. And if we look at this article here, and we do all this in my classes, we get deep into this information. This is from thought.co.com. The Berlin Conference to divide Africa. The colonization of the continent by European powers. You have 14 European nations that met in Berlin, Germany, to carve up Africa in colonies. The Berlin Conference was Africa doing in more ways than one. The colonial powers superimposed their domains on the African continent. By independence returned to Africa in 1950, the realm had acquired a legacy of political fragmentation that could neither be eliminated nor made to operate satisfactorily, end quote. So the purpose of the Berlin Conference, it was after Portugal, German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck called together major Western powers of the world to negotiate questions and end confusion over the control of Africa. There was only two countries that weren't colonized during this colonial period. Ethiopia and Italy tried to invade Ethiopia, actually twice, because at the Battle of Adwa, March 1896, the Ethiopians defeat the Haile Selassie. Menelik II, Emperor Menelik II, 1896. They defeat the Ethiopians, beat the hell out of the Italians. They defeat the Italians. They beat the Italians so badly that the Italians lied to the rest of the world and told the rest of the world that the Ethiopians were white because they didn't want the world to know that they got their behinds kicked by black Africans. Okay. If you look at blackpast.org, Battle of Adwa, and I don't have time to make this a long history lesson. But if we look at blackpast.org, look at this entry here for the Battle of Adwa, March 1st, 1896. A second here. Okay, let's look at this quickly here, because then I have to get out of here. Okay, let's flip over to this. Battle of Adwa. Now you see different spellings. It may be ADWA or ADOWA. Battle of Adwa, 1896. This is from blackpast.org. All right. In March 1896, Ethiopian forces under the leadership of Emperor Menelik II surprised the world by defeating an Italian army sent to conquer empire. Okay. Now, read all of this. Okay. But they kicked the Italians behinds. Now, at the end of the article, they talk about how, let's see, Ethiopian victory secured independence until Italian dictator Benito Mussolini attempted to conquer the nation when he invaded in 1935. Okay, and this is leading up to World War II. Ethiopia initially resisted the Italians alone, except with the help of anti-fascist volunteers from the United States and other nations. The Battle of Adwa. Hold on, where is this? The part I'm looking for. Oh, right here. Okay. Victory at Adwa sealed the unification of Ethiopia and solidified Emperor Menelik II's claim to the title of emperor. Europeans and European Americans interpreted the story of Adwa in different ways. For some, it was an opportunity to discredit Italy militarily. For others, it was important to advance the view that the Ethiopians were not black. For others, it was important to advance the view that the Ethiopians were black, thus explaining away the significance of white and European defeat. The Italians told the rest of the world that the Ethiopians were not black. They said they were white. They didn't want the rest of the world to know that they got their behinds kicked by these black Africans. But at the same time, the other European nations didn't want to give other African nations ideas. Oh, we can overthrow our white oppressors also. So when you have somebody like Kim Klacik, who doesn't understand that there was only two African nations that were not colonized, Ethiopia and Liberia. Liberia was created in 1821, right around 1821, by the American Colonization Society. It was created by the U.S. government. All the rest of the African nations were colonized, okay? And most of that colonization is the result of the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885 that took place in Berlin, Germany. 14 European nations are there. No representation for Africa was there. 1884, at the request of Portugal, German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck called together the major Western powers of the world to negotiate questions and end confusion over the control of Africa, because Europeans have been killing each other for hundreds of years over different territories in Africa and the natural resources. So they came together, basically said, look, we don't have to keep killing ourselves over this, over Africa. Africa is large enough for us to carve it up in the colonies and continue to rape it without having to kill each other. German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck appreciated the opportunity to expand Germany's sphere of influence over Africa and hoped to force Germany's rivals to struggle with one another for territory. Okay, now Kim Klacik mentioned the Congo. Apparently, Kim Klacik has never heard of King Leopold II, who killed millions. The Congo was colonized by Belgium, and King Leopold II killed millions of Africans in the Congo. But let's continue, though. At the time of the Berlin Conference in 1884, 80% of Africa remained under traditional and local control. What only resulted was a hodgepodge of geometric boundaries that divided Africa into 50 irregular countries. This new map of the continent of Africa, these geometric boundaries created by these Europeans, was superimposed over 1,000 indigenous African cultures and regions of Africa. The new countries lacked rhyme or reason and divided coherent groups of African people and merged together disparate groups who really did not get along. What we see in Africa today is largely a legacy of the colonialism, even though you did have the African liberation movements and the revolutions starting with Ghana in 1957, and it continues with different Africans. Most of them still have ties and are still controlled to various extents by their former colonizers. Now, this map right here shows you African colonization after the Berlin Conference, and it shows you the areas of Africa, the colonies, the areas that each European nation gets. Okay, and of the 14 nations that were there, because France, Germany, Great Britain, and Portugal were the major players in the conference, controlling most of colonial Africa at the time. Now, Great Britain is in the orange. Look at what Great Britain gets. They get South Africa, they get Namibia, they get Kenya, Nigeria, they get Egypt, they get Nigeria. Let's see, Nigeria. It's a number of different countries that Great Britain gets. Okay, we see France gets countries like Senegal, things of this nature. Okay, read the rest of this here. Read the rest of this article. We see the Congo. Congo goes to Belgium. Neutrality part of the Congo Basin became a personal kingdom of Belgian King Leopold II. Under his rule, over half of the region's population died. Okay, Leopold II, who's a mass murderer. If we look at, let me see what I know. I have something on Leopold here. Just a second here. Black statue, black. Belgium. Okay, so she mentioned, Kim Klacik mentioned the Congo, but she didn't mention Leopold. Leopold II, Belgium wakes up to its bloodiest colonial past, June 13, 2020. Here's a statue of Leopold. Leopold II ruled Belgium from 1865 to 1909. Activists want this statue in Brussels removed due to his brutal regime in Congo Free State. Okay. All right. Read the. Let's see. Leopold II's rule in what is now Democratic Republic of Congo was so bloody it was eventually condemned by other European colonialists in 1908, but it has taken far longer to come under scrutiny at home in Belgium. Last week, thousands in the country of 11 million joined solidarity protests about the killing of a U.S. black man named George Floyd in police custody. A renewed global focus on racism is highlighting a violent colonial history that generated riches for Belgians, but death for Congolese. Now, Deborah Kayembe is a Congolese human rights lawyer who has lived in Belgium. She said, everyone is waking up from a sleep. It's a reckoning with the past. Okay, read the rest of this here. This deals with King Leopold II. Colonized Congo. Killed millions of Congolese. Hotep, everybody. This is Michael Imhotep from the African History Network. Our Kwanzaa online history course bundle pack is on sale right now. We have a fantastic promotion for you. Get our bundle pack of 2 online history courses that I teach, as well as my 15 lecture downloadable bundle, African History Awakens the African Mind from Mental Death. These are both from me, Michael Imhotep. They're on sale right now for only $100. That's 76% off. My first online history class is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Kemet is one of the original names for Egypt. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles. There's about 100 articles that we cover in the class, over 200 slides that I put together as well. And there are also video clips, including excerpts of interviews I've done with some of our historians and scholars, as well as Renoka Rashidi, Professor James Small, Anthony Browder, Professor Kabahayawafa Kamene, and Dr. David Imhotep. In the second class that I teach, it's called Black Resistance Movements from the Haitian Revolution, the U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement, 1800 to 1968. And we dig in deep and look at history chronologically from 1800 to 1968 and look at what leads to the Civil War taking place. We study the Jim Crow era, the Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877, World War I, World War II, Civil Rights Movement, Black Power Movement, and the Great Migration, 1915 and 1970. To understand what happened to us after slavery ended, what were the laws and policies put in place to put us where we are today, to understand where we need to go from here. I created both of these classes, created the curriculum, chose the content as well. This sale ends Monday, January 1st, 2024. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You'll see the promotion at the top of the page. As soon as you register, you can start watching the content. You can join us for our next online class live Sunday, January 7th, 2024 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch all of these classes on demand, and even after the course is over with, you don't lose access. Register right now, order right now. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. This sale ends Monday, January 1st, 2024. Also, if you'd like to stop for information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, right now, it's correct wrong behavior is not over till we win. Wakanda forever, and we'll talk.